What's going on, YouTube? So the compact SUV segment seems to be an ever-changing area nowadays. And today we're in one of the newest changes, the refreshed 2024 Nissan Rogue. With updated styling, updated technology, is this ready to take down RAV4 and CR-V? Well, that's what we're here to find out today. Alright guys, so we'll start out this review by popping the hood and seeing what's under here. Now, all versions of the Rogue are going to come with the same powertrain for 2024. It's a 1.5 liter VC turbo 3-cylinder, making 201 horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque. All models also have a CVT, the option between front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and if you choose all-wheel drive, your fuel economy is coming in at a very impressive 31 miles per gallon. Now, of course, in this video, we're going to be taking this out on a spin. We're going to be getting things such as our sound level reading so we can see how quiet this refreshed Rogue is compared to the competition on CarConfections.com. But I know you guys are waiting to see the changes on the exterior, so let's go ahead and dive into that. Now, before we start off with the exterior design, I do just want to point out that Drew is unable to join us today, so it's just going to be me. Hopefully you don't mind too much. Now, as far as the exterior design is concerned up here in the front, this is going to be the biggest area of change for the refreshed Rogue, and that's because Nissan has really went for that more squared off, tough, macho look that a lot of American buyers are wanting in their SUVs. So we do still have the V-Motion grille up here in the front, but it's going to have a more squared off design for 2024. And if you choose an SL or Platinum model, you will have this nice piece down here, once again with that nice squared off design, and it has a gray finish here on the SL trim level. And of course you have all the chrome elements in the grille as well. Now, heading over to our headlights, most of this is going to remain the same for 2024. So we have the Nissan signature separated daytime running light up here at the top. We have an incandescent turn signal indicator. And then as far as our headlights are concerned, we're going to have standard reflector LEDs on all versions of the Rogue. You cannot get projector LEDs, as well as having an option of fog lights if you want that. Now, coming around to the rear design of this refreshed Rogue, you're probably going to notice back here not as much has changed as compared to the front. Nissan definitely focused their efforts on the front design, but that's not to say they haven't made any changes when it comes to the overall rear aesthetic. But here at Car Confections, one of the things that we like to do is dive into the individual elements and break those down. So I do want to just go ahead and start with that. We have an exposure wiper right through here, spoiler up top, and then as far as our taillights are concerned, these are going to be a slightly updated design. The overall shape is pretty much the same, but Nissan has revised just a few elements in here. But let's see if all of the elements are LED. So we do have an LED brake light portion, incandescent reverse light, and turn signal indicator. So 1 out of our 3 elements are LED. I maybe would have liked Nissan to make all of the elements LED for 2024, but this is going to be a decent taillight design for the rest of the segment. And then as far as this area is concerned, we have updated that gray text for the Rogue branding. And then down here at the lower fascia, this is really where you start to see some of those changes. We have a little bit more of a boxy shape compared to the 2023 Rogue, but we're still not going to get exposed exhaust outlets. That's something that's not available on any version of the Rogue, and all of them have a 1,500 pound tow rating. Now, no refresh would be complete without some new wheel design, so let's go ahead and talk about that. Now, what you're seeing right here is a 19-inch contrast alloy. This is what comes on the SL trim level, and it's a pretty familiar wheel if you know the pre-refresh Rogue. However, if you choose the new Platinum wheel, that has a very different design, and you do start out with 17-inch wheels for that base model. Now, one of the things I also want to point out about this is that we have the rugged matte black wheel surrounds on this SL trim level. If you choose the Platinum, you're now going to have a piano black finish for this that I think looks really, really good. Now, up here at our mirrors, we do have the same design for 2024. We have a turn signal indicator since we have the SL trim level, and all versions of this Rogue will have standard blind spot monitoring, so that's a nice feature to have. And if you choose an SV and up, you'll have heating as well. Now here at the side, the Rogue is going to continue to come in at an overall length of 183 inches long. And as far as some of the design elements, the Rogue is always one of the most stylish when it comes to the side design because you can actually get a two-tone roof on this model. That's if you choose an SL or Platinum, and it has 5 different available colors that you can choose from. Obviously, we just have the standard body color roof, but I would recommend getting that feature. Additionally, up here at the top, we do have chrome roof rails for this SL trim level. Now, when it comes to your safety systems, this is another area that I'm pretty impressed with for the Rogue, because as long as you choose the SV trim level and above, you will have all 4 active safety features as standard equipment. And even if you choose the base S, you will have 3 safety systems as standard equipment. But guys, that's going to wrap up the refreshed exterior design. There are some big tech enhancements on the inside, so let's check that out. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, let's go ahead and check out the refreshed interior. But before we get inside, I do want to just go ahead and show you your key fob. This is the typical Nissan key fob. It has a pretty nice overall shape to it. As long as you choose the SV and up, you're going to have this key fob with smart entry as well as remote start built into the fob itself. Now, as you walk up to the door, we do not have a sensor behind the handle, so we do have to press the button, and that will unlock the door. Now back out of the way and allow Josh to get a good look at the interior, because I'm sure you're probably going to notice that there are definitely some enhancements when it comes to the overall technology. But before we get into that, I do want to just go ahead and dive into overall materials and color choices. So if on the S and SV trim levels, you're going to have a cloth seat as standard equipment. You have an optional leatherette, and then if you choose the SL, like what we've opted for today, you do come standard with a real leather seat, and that's going to be available in charcoal or light gray. As you can see, it's a pretty nice overall seat design. It has some different stitching and piping details. However, if you're really into seats, you might want to choose the Platinum, because that gives you quilted semi-aniline leather that has a very premium feel and look to it. Now, if you choose the SV and up, you're also going to have an 8-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. And as far as the memory abilities, that's going to be optional here on this SL trim level or standard on the Platinum. But let's go ahead and dive inside and break down the features. Let's go ahead and dive into the overall materials for this 2024 Rogue. Now, over here on the door trim, we do have a really nicely appointed one. We have leather on the armrest portion, leather all through the center section as well. And then as we head to this upper part, it's going to be a soft touch plastic. Now, I do want to talk about this because the entire dashboard is going to be made of a pretty nice soft touch plastic. However, last year you might have noticed on a black color interior, this was actually finished in a brown. Now for 2024, this is now finished in a black color. So for those of you that really like the black, you'll like this refreshed model. Now, through the center section, all of this is going to be finished in a nice leatherette with stitching detail. And as we drop down to the lower area, this is all going to be hard touch, but everything in here does feel nicely put together and very quality feeling. Now, we do have standard push button start, so just put your foot on the brake and push the button to start it up. All right, but let's go ahead and start to dive into some of those individual elements inside of this cabin. Now, I'm sure what you're looking at now is the gauge cluster, which I really like the Nissan digital gauge cluster, and this is now going to be standard on SL and Platinum trim levels. So those top 2 models are going to get this nice full digital gauge cluster. It's 12.3 inches, and you can change different views as well to kind of customize whatever you're going to want. The more basic trim levels will still have a 7-inch multifunction display. Now, one thing I do want to point out is that the Platinum can get a head-up display. It's a 10.8-inch display. That's going to be an option on the Platinum trim level this year. Now, as we head back to the steering wheel itself, it is going to be leather-wrapped, standard on SL and Platinum trim levels. It's also going to be heated on those same 2 trim levels as well. This is going to be mostly the same design as last year. However, we do still have some nice buttons on the side, and we also have paddle shifters on the back. It is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. Now, Let's go ahead and dive into interior storage for this refreshed Rogue. Now, this is going to be an area that doesn't really change this year, so we do still have this split opening center console design. As you can see, it's a nice size center console, and here at Car Confections, we do the donut test. Of course, that's our emblem, so we want to see how many donuts will fill up this center console, because it's not necessarily based on the exterior size of the vehicle, how much interior space you have. And this Rogue is fitting 11 donuts in the center console, so this is a pretty good sized console, but it's not going to quite pass the dozen donut test. You have your cup holders right here, and then up in the front you have a rubber lined area that doubles as a wireless phone charging pad on SL and above. But we're not done yet, because the Rogue is one of those vehicles in this segment that has a floating center console. So as you can see down here, we have a ton of room to put whatever you're going to need, which is very convenient for a lot of people who have families and might need to put like a diaper bag or Xanax or whatever up here in the front. Now, the reason that's possible is because we do have an electronic style shifter. This is going to remain the same this year, so just pull back for drive, bump up for reverse, and then as we head into reverse, you'll see a really nice feature that's included on the SL and Platinum trim levels, and that is the 360-degree camera setup. Now, this is a updated graphics for 2024. However, I will say the resolution could certainly be improved. It's a little grainy in the 360 view. However, we do still have really nice dynamic grid lines, as well as a couple different views that you can switch between. And then to put it in park, you just press the P up at the top. We do have an electronic parking brake, as well as a brake hold function. Now let's go ahead and move up the dashboard and talk about our climate controls. Now, I'm very happy to see that Nissan hasn't really fiddled with this, and we're still going to have physical controls for our climate system. Now, you start out with a single zone setup. However, you get dual zone automatic on all but the very base model, and you actually have 3-zone automatic standard on the Platinum or optional on this SL, which is a class exclusive feature. Certainly very nice to see that included by Nissan. And then over here on the side, you will notice that we have heated seats. That's standard on all but the very base model. Ventilated seats are going to continue to not be offered, which is something I really wish they would have maybe offered for 2024, but still going to not be available. Now, as we rise up, you will notice that we have a slightly different button setup, but we do still retain a physical volume knob. Now, the volume knob is going to control 3 different audio systems. So you have a standard 4-speaker audio system on the S. All but that model will get a 6-speaker audio system. And then the Platinum gets a 10-speaker Bose audio system. But since we're here in the SL trim level, let's go ahead and give that 6-speaker audio system a sample. Sound quality on this is certainly going to be acceptable for this type of vehicle. However, if you're a real audiophile, I certainly would recommend getting the 10-speaker Bose audio system, definitely for a more bassier experience. Now, as we head up the dashboard, let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room. And elephant is a good way to describe this because it is a big screen up here in this area. It's a 12.3-inch screen to be exact, and this is going to be standard on SL and Platinum trim levels for 2024. And not only is this a bigger screen, it's also going to be running the latest software, which is really the bigger deal than the screen size. That means that we're going to have very impressive graphics. We first saw this included on the Nissan Altima, and now I'm very happy to see that it's on the Rogue for your top trim levels. One of the really cool things about it is that we do actually have Google built in. So you'll notice that we have built-in Google Maps, very fast performance. It's extremely high resolution as well. So this really makes it one of the best in-car infotainment systems in this segment, that is for sure. Now, it is worth noting, if you don't choose for one of those top 2 trim levels, you will still get an 8-inch display, which is the same thing that we saw in the 2023 model with the built-in Nissan software. That's definitely a little bit less impressive than this setup. Now, I do also want to point out, though, that you do have wireless Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto for this screen setup. Now as we move up, we do have an auto-dimming interior mirror on SL and Platinum trim levels. And then heading up to the roof itself, I do want to talk about this because we have a large panoramic moonroof. Now this is included as an option on the SL and SV trim levels, or it is going to be standard on the Platinum. And as you can see, it does have a lot of glass going on here, and it does also open quite a good distance to let a lot of air in. And before we get into the rear areas, I do want to just point something out that a lot of you guys with families will certainly appreciate. Look at how wide these doors open. This is one of my favorite features about this generation of the Rogue, is that the doors nearly open at 90 degrees. So that's going to make loading in car seats and stuff like that a breeze for this model. Now, as far as this rear area is concerned, for the refresh, it's not going to change much when it comes to overall space and functionality. So we're still going to have about 39 inches of legroom, 39 inches of headroom as well, which places this as one of the more spacious offerings in the segment. Now, with the seat adjusted to myself, I'm 5'9" for reference. I do have about 6.5 inches of spare knee room, and my feet can also slide up underneath of the seat. Now, let's go ahead and dive into some of those features that we're going to get. We have vents back here in the center. We also have our own climate controls. That's, of course, what I mentioned in the front, optional on this SL or standard on the Platinum. We also have 2 USB ports. These are the Type-C variety. Then we can also fold down the center armrest. It has 2 cup holders inside. As far as the seat itself, it does recline a tiny, tiny bit, but not a ton overall. And they can be heated on the Platinum, but it's going to be an option package on the Platinum if you want heated rear seats. Now over here on the door trim, there's something pretty cool to talk about. First and foremost, I do want to say that we have rear window sunshade. So that's a very rare feature to see in this segment. And that's going to be optional on the SL and SV trim levels. As far as the center section, this is all going to be a nice leatherette armrest portion, and we do have plenty of bottle storage down in the bottom. It can actually fit a Stanley cup if you're curious about that. I know a lot of you people have these. It's become the new obsession to have a Stanley cup, so you can fit that in the door trim, no problem whatsoever. Now let's go ahead and dive into the cargo area for this Rogue. Now if you choose an SL trim level, you will have a power tailgate as standard equipment, and we do also have the optional foot activation, so you just kick your foot under the bumper and it will open right up. Now, one of the best parts about this Rogue is that it is one of the most spacious when it comes to cargo capacity, and that's going to continue this year. We're going to have about 36 cubic feet behind the second row seats. If we fold those second row seats down, we're going to have a maximum of 74 cubic feet of cargo capacity, which puts it right on par with stuff like the Toyota RAV4 and Honda CR-V. Now you'll notice that there are not any handles to fold the second row from the cargo area, so you will have to come up here and manually fold them with that lever right there. And as you can see, they do fold 60-40 split. And here at Car Confections, we like to give all the measures in case you're looking to haul something specific. So here in the cargo area, from the front driver's seat adjusted to me to the rear of the cargo area, we're sitting at about 68 inches of overall length. As far as from behind the second row itself, let me go ahead and get that figure for you. We're sitting at about 34 inches of length. As far as the overall cargo opening, let's go ahead and get that figure. We're going to be sitting at 43 inches wide. Now also, one of my favorite features is that you do have this divide and hide cargo floor, which of course allows you to do quite a few different things. You can kind of partition it off like this, or do whatever your cargo needs are specifically. This is going to be included on your higher end models. And then down underneath of the floor, you do have a spare tire. Well guys, here we are behind the wheel of the refreshed 2024 Nissan Rogue, and in this test drive we're going to be talking about quite a few different things, as you can see on the screen right now, including getting our sound level reading so we can see if this refreshed Rogue is quieter than all of the competition. But first we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration. And there's an acceleration of up to 60 miles per hour. in this Nissan Rogue. Now, when it comes to the powertrain, if you were paying attention at the spec dump, you'll know that this doesn't change for 2024, so it's the 1.5 liter VC turbo 3-cylinder, and it makes 201 horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque. You know, honestly, I'm kind of glad Nissan didn't change this motor out, because this is a very torque-rich motor. When you put your foot down, it pushes you back in your seat, kind of in an uncommon way for this segment, honestly. This segment, a lot of times, can be pretty darn slow, and the way they've tuned this, it really just has a lot of bite initially off the line. Now, before we get any further, I do want to introduce Josh. For those of you that haven't seen some of the videos that he's been in, he's here to help me out today since Drew is not able to come, and give him a warm welcome in the comments down below.
Glad to be here, y'all. You really can feel that torque as Mason accelerates there. And what you can also tell from that acceleration is that this Rogue comes equipped with a Xtronic CVT, what we've grown accustomed to throughout this Rogue and many more in the Nissan lineup. And you will also have standard front-wheel drive and optional all-wheel drive across every single trim in the Rogue lineup.
Yeah, and this transmission is a good one. I know a lot of you guys may not like CVTs, but I think the average person honestly won't even really notice that this is not a traditional automatic, because we do have that shift simulation when you are hard on the acceleration. So it's a good transmission. I really have almost no complaints there, besides for the big fat bird poop that landed on the windshield as we were accelerating there. He got us. At least it's after we're filming the exterior portion of the review. I'm happy at least on that.
Right.
Now that we're just kind of cruising along here, I do also want to talk about the ride quality when it comes to this Nissan Rogue. Now, there's a lot of really good competition, including that CR-V that's driving beside us now when it comes to ride quality, and I have to say, this Rogue definitely holds its own. It has exceptionally good ride quality. When you hit a bump, it does a great job of soaking it up. And may I add, I really love these Nissan Zero Gravity seats. Josh actually pointed that out as well. He absolutely loves the way these feel, and they're one of the most comfortable seats, if not the most comfortable seat in the class.
All right, now it's time for one of our Car Confections signature elements, our sound level reading. So let me make sure we are on fan speed 0 and go ahead and get that going. All right, we're going to be at 58.9 decibels today, and might I just mention right off the bat, it is ridiculously windy today. We finally get a nice weather day, and the wind has to come right along with it. So, although we will go to carconfections.com to look at all of the sound level readings to compare to all of the competition, and we want to encourage you to go do that as well to check out all of the different segments we have on there. So as expected, it does land on the top end of the segment for today, although I will mention the also very similar Nissan Rogue we drove last year came in a couple decibels lower, excuse me.
And our auto start-stop system has engaged here, so I'm going to let my foot off the brake and see how quickly it restarts. It's a pretty good auto start-stop. I don't imagine you're going to have much of a problem with it. However, if you do dislike it, there is a button to turn it off over here on the left side.
And speaking of your auto start stop system, which is used to help your fuel economy, let's talk about the fuel economy figures. So you will have 4 different readings because your base S and SV trims are going to have slightly better fuel economy ratings, but let me hit the ones here for your SL and Platinum. For your front wheel drive models, you will have 32 miles to the gallon combined, and for the all-wheel drive, you'll have 31 miles to the gallon combined. So really not bad. I mean, you have the 3-cylinder for a reason, and it's definitely performing quite well.
I believe Nissan claims this is the best, standard gas engine in the segment when it comes to fuel economy. So, yeah, like Josh said, there is a reason why you have the 3-cylinder. It is also worth noting, though, that they're not offering a hybrid. So that's one thing that we certainly would like to see Nissan add, and that's actually going to be today's airball, is the fact that we don't have a Rogue hybrid. We're at a time that I believe over a quarter of all Toyota RAV4 sales are hybrid, and half of the CR-V trim levels are hybrid exclusive. So I think it's definitely something that Nissan needs to get on. Add that hybrid that gets 40 miles a gallon plus, and I think a lot of people are going to want it.
And as far as our slam dunk goes, it has got to be this brand new 12.3 inch display. It is truly leveled it up in the segment as far as it compares to its competitors. You know, this is substantially bigger than what you get in something like the CR-V, and we're also really impressed with the software in it, having Google built in. It's really just a great package if you opt for the SL or Platinum trim levels.
And finally, here in terms of your warranty, it's going to have Nissan Signature Warranty, which is 3-year 36,000 miles for your basic, 5-year 60,000 miles for your powertrain. Nissan does not do any complimentary maintenance. Now, how much is all this going to cost? Well, I'm happy to say that for the refresh, Nissan didn't really charge much more for it, so it's only going to rise around $1,000 on each trim level. And as far as the base price is going to be $28,420 for the S. SV is $30,110, SL is $35,720, and Platinum starts at $38,700. Now, that is with front-wheel drive. All-wheel drive adds an additional $1,500. Now, as far as this particular unit that we've been looking at today, this is an SL all-wheel drive with the premium package. We do also have some accessories plus a destination of $1,390. We're sitting at $40,415 as tested today. And if you want my professional opinion on what trim level to get, I would say if you're wanting all the features, definitely choose the Platinum trim level because that's going to give you a lot more features. And if you're wanting the best value, maybe the SV trim level. And if you're looking to buy a Nissan Rogue or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, why you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local dealers in your area to get you the best price on your new vehicle. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealer negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. And guys, that's going to be it for our in-depth first review of the 2024 Nissan Rogue. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we hope you did, we would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you'll help us to make more content like this where we can come out and be some of the first people to sample out this refreshed Rogue. So please consider subscribing if you haven't already joined in on our Car Confections family. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.